meeting to order. I would like to point out that this meeting is being hosted through live stream on the city's website and by Zoom teleconference. City Clerk, may we have a roll call, please?
Thank you, Mayor. Councilmember Brown.
Here.
Councilmember Krupa.
Here.
Councilmember Males.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Meyer.
Here.
Mayor Lilienthal.
Here.
All members are present.
Our work study item is a resolution of the City Council of the City of Hemet, California, approving a policy regarding city proclamations and certificates. Can we get a report from staff on this item?
Yeah, regarding this item, this is a policy regarding the issuance of proclamations and certificates of recognition. At the current time, we have to get this approved by council for certificates that are not extraordinary, but necessary per maybe council members that want to provide a recognition within a timely manner. And there's no clear direction among staff to get this done and get it approved in a timely manner. So this would reduce any type of concerns or scrambling around to try to figure out the right process, having this in place to get any type of proclamation or process. Obviously, this would be approved by the mayor. Mayor would deem if we could move forward with a proclamation with signatures for an item of recognition. But if it's extraordinary, something different that should come to council, the mayor could also determine that it's something that should be brought to council for approval on a proclamation or certificate of recognition.
What if one of the council members don't want their name on it?
I believe that has to come to, that can be approved without the name of a council member. And I don't know if Lauren could clarify on that.
That direction would have to be given in general terms, so you wouldn't be asking that your signature be withheld for a particular item. You would have to request, just as a blanket rule, that your signature not be included in the standard signature block issued on the routine proclamation.
So they would say it ahead of time.
And they would say ahead of time, and the policy, when I reviewed it, didn't specify who that request would be made to per se, but I would imagine it would be to the mayor to withhold that signature.
I thought you have like standard proclamations that go out for holidays and certain things that we can generally just have all the names on there, but special proclamations that come out, can't we just have a standard where every signature goes on it, or just a standard proclamation? Then if we have something special, then if we want to bow out, we can bow out of it.
The way it's written, if you were to want a signature withheld, it would just be across the board. You wouldn't be able to, when a certain matter comes up, to then request that it be withheld. I'm not sure that the intent behind the policy was to allow for that, because the whole point of the policy is to make sure that our process is Brown Act compliant. And insofar as those instances could trigger some sort of discussion outside of a public meeting, we would want to avoid that. So that's why it's structured the way it is, so that that direction has to be given up front prior to specific items coming before you. Did I answer your question?
What part didn't you like?
Well, I mean, on standard proclamations like grand openings, Marine Corps birthday, I don't mind my name being on it. But for an example, we had something that came up and just about 3 or 4 months ago. I can't recall what it was, but some of the people didn't want their name on it. And was that you?
That was me.
Yeah, that was you.
That was a letter to the county. It was on an item we voted on, and the vote was 4-1. And Stephen said, if you don't want your name on the letter, you don't have to have it. To which my comment was, this doesn't make any difference what the vote was. If it's a council decision, all council members should be on it, whether they voted for it or not. But he said I had the option of not having my name on that letter, but it wasn't a proclamation.
Okay, so in that situation, for something controversial, it would go to the city council. If it's a proclamation or a certificate, I think that would fall within the mayor's discretion to bring it. If it's a resolution, it would have to go before you for an open discussion and vote with public participation. Now, with regards to whether or not you could withhold a signature, if you're in the dissenting vote, this policy does not address that particular issue, so I would have to defer to the direction Stephen gave previously on what we would do in those instances.
As the last sentence, it says, but such direction shall be general in nature and not for specific matters to avoid a violation of the Brown Act.
So could, let's say okay, so like next year, let's say something comes up and something comes across the board and somebody's like, and so they just check out the agenda. We can see these in the agenda. What if they're like, I'd like my name to be removed from that?
On the particular item, the policy right now as it's written wouldn't accommodate that request per se, because it's
a
supposed to
whole.
be general in nature, as the chief said.
Okay.
This may be way too sensitive to bring up, but I just need to ask this question. The reason this came up was because of a proclamation for a grand opening that we asked for. And so I ended up taking the proclamation without signatures and without a seal to a grand opening. And then I had to bring the framed thing back and I have to get a new one. And then we've got to reissue it to the group. So this is for clarity, I believe. But what I don't appreciate is the questioning of staff to council members as if we don't know what the Brown Act is. That's crazy to me because we've been doing this, since 1910, giving out proclamations, and now staff doesn't know if they can do it. So it's confusing to me.
Yeah, it was
I'm just
confusing.
understanding why, because the whole argument, and what is hilarious is the whole argument was they couldn't print this with the signatures on it because it violated the Brown Act, but yet it's printed in this document. And we don't ever vote on proclamations. So it feels like there's some misunderstanding there on whose role is where.
Yeah, and the whole purpose for clarity, because I felt the same as physically saw certificates being handed out that I didn't believe went to council for approval, had signatures, and then there's that question about our proclamations. So I think this was brought forward to clarify what we can and can't do, so there wouldn't be a question in the future, because
But
that,
why
I
is
was confused. as
staff
well.
questioning council members? That's like, I don't know, it's backwards to me.
Yeah,
Because we're trained in the Brown Act and it's our responsibility. It's our head. It's not their head. So I understand it to a point.
yeah, I think that'll fall on me, on educating them, understanding what's,
And to make it fall on you, I'm just
no,
making sure
but-
that it's,
but it's my staff that I have to work with to make sure that we're following
Yeah.
right protocols. So
Any other thoughts or comments? Y'all do this on purpose to wait till I'm not about to be the mayor no more to,
no,
those
this was
because
a particular incident occurred, which we need to clarify, because just so we don't come across this in the future. And it's just clear and direct, so there's no questions.
any other comments?
One question. Why didn't we go upstairs? Why are we doing it right here in closed session? Is that,
It's not.
oh, it's not a closed session.
Work study.
Work study.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay. I guess if I read the paper, I would have known. Did I say that?
Yeah, I don't have a problem with this. If the next mayor wants to change it, that's fine. Because the next mayor may not want to do this.
Well, and then they're gonna all be funneled through the mayor, and so that might be annoying too, if you wanna field all of the proclamations, but it's still, I don't know. I think it's
If
fine.
it
but-
clarifies it for a while, let's go with it. I mean, we did approve a list of
Mhm.
that student of the month would be it. We clarified that there were certain things every month that would be given proclamations and blah, 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 all of that good stuff. So whatever.
But you see why I think it's goofy? I don't
Goofy.
approve every time somebody hits a keystroke on their computer.
Yeah.
Or logs in, or processes that they do on a daily basis, or how they answer the phone. But if they want us to approve this, then it's just interesting.
And getting 5 of us to sign a document isn't a violation of a Brown Act. Whether
Especially
we
when they're
walked
printed
in,
the
walked
computer.
in all 5 together and signed the document 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, it is not a violation of a Brown Act.
Do I have a motion?
We need one. It's a work study. So are
for
we
this-
approving this?
For this particular item, the request was if there's no requested changes, that it be approved. But before we do that, since we are taking actual action for this particular item, if we could just check to make sure there's no public comment online. I don't think it's in the chamber, but.
There's any public comment on the Zoom call, now is the time to speak on this for the work study session. If you raise your hand, I will unmute you and we'll give you just a few seconds. Seeing none, Mayor, there are no public comments on the Zoom call.
Do I have a motion and a second?
Okay, now I have another question, which would be for legal. Can we legally make a vote in a work study?
You can, it's just like any other agendized item. That just happens to be the title given to the item by the city.
Okay.
I'll move approval.
I'll second.
Council, please cast your votes, and that's to approve the staff recommendation. That motion passes 5-0.
All right, at this time, I'm going to adjourn the work study and we'll return back at 7 PM for our regularly scheduled program.
See what happens when you get stuck in a ditch? Don't remind her. I'm sure she won't forget. Eight o'clock. You have to stay up late. That puts you to sleep.
from the intersection of Myers Avenue. Today, I've been watching recording of all 5/18/2018. We're talking about Deputy Giles and Warren Avenue.
Oh, assault, police.
Because it costs too much money. And it's developers' responsibility to own traffic signals on improved roads, so. There's 4 or 5.
I thought we were getting that done.
Tell me who the stick, so, I bet you would. I would. Well, go after Russ. Go after Joe.
No, Russ. I agree 100%, Russ.
He's running.
That's why he can do it.
I scared him.
Sure.
Yeah, I scared him. I'm going.
I'm gonna join.
She heard me. Good evening, everyone. I would like to call the November 8th, 2022 regular city council meeting to order. I would like to point out that this meeting is being hosted through live stream on the city's website and through Zoom teleconference. City clerk, can we have a roll call?
Thank you, Mayor. Councilmember Brown.
Here.
Councilmember Krupa. Councilmember Mails.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Meyer.
Here.
Mayor Lilienthal.
Here.
All members are present.
At this time, our invocation will be by Marla Randall, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance with Joe Cosma.
Father God, I want to thank you today. I want to thank you for forgiving us for our sins. God, I want to thank you for your covering today, Lord Jesus, over this meeting. Allow everyone to have an open heart and an open mind, God, in making the best decisions. Lord, I want to ask you to bless the homeless today, God. Continue to watch over them. Continue to put us on one accord, not allowing us to be prejudiced or biased, but to see them as souls, God, and continue to pray that they find somewhere warm to be, God. Continue to give us the strength and the knowledge to do what is needed in this community. Continue to watch over everyone that sits on board here in the audience, Lord Jesus. Keep them covered from all hurt, harm, danger, and disease, seen and unseen. Allow them to have traveling mercy as they go to and fro on these slippery roads. And I'm asking these things in Jesus' faithful name. Amen.
Please uncover for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Ready? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
At this time, moving to publications or public comments on non-public hearing items. All who wish to speak at this time be recognized by the mayor. For those who are on Zoom, you'll be asked to raise your hand if you would like to speak. Just remember to keep your comments to 3 minutes or less and direct your comments to the council as a whole and not single out any particular council member. I'm going to open up first for items not listed on the agenda. Can I have Jerry Ann Franklin?
Thank you, Mayor and council members. I just have a couple of questions for you. I'm here on behalf of my community, the Lakes at Hemet West. We are facing an issue with our new rental agreement. And I was looking up the city ordinance and I came across that the Mobile Home Rent Review Commission, it would appear that it is no longer in existence. And so I was trying to find out exactly why, what happened to it, because the city ordinance is still there. It just, the commission has disappeared. The expiration of the terms, the last one was in 2021. So, I would like to follow up on that. If somebody could let me know, because we are in need of that ordinance in order to move forward with our battle against our management and the LLC that we're up against. The second thing that I would like to ask the city for help with, and I know that our police and our, all of our first responders have tried to help us with this. I've called the state of California to get help with this. Unfortunately, some cities are willing to share, some are not. It's called the Vial of Life. And this is something that is necessary for people. What it is it's a packet that the elderly can have in their house. They put it on their refrigerator. And then what it does is it holds all of their personal medical information in it, very, very vital information. So when a first responder comes to their house, if they're not alert or anything like that, they know to go to this, that they've got a Vial of Life. We need to get a hold of some of these. What are you mouthing at me? Don't mouth off at me. I don't interrupt you when you are talking. We need to get some of the stickers that go on the windows so we can notify first responders that there is a Vial of Life in the residence. So, and I don't know how to do this. I have tried to contact all the way up to the state of California's Cal Fire, all the way up to the state of California, and I haven't been able to get a hold of any. So if the city can please help us to locate some, we need about 653 of them. So I would really, really, really appreciate some help with that. So thank you so much.
Jerry-Ann, regarding the Mobile Home Rent Review Commission, I'll look into that and we'll get back to you.
Thank you so much.
Councilmember Krupa.
Yeah, on the Rent Review Commission, city clerk just needs to get some people to serve on it, because that's the only, it hasn't been active for a long time because of the fact that we haven't had any requests from mobile home parks. And I realize it is a commission. It needs to be staffed at all times. There you go.
I want to add to Councilmember Krupa's comments. We've also solicited in the press enterprise several times for that commission and received no applications at this point.
Yeah.
But we've solicited applications at least 2 or 3 times to my knowledge.
Right.
You could visit the city's website and the city clerk page and apply through the boards and commissions application there. Absolutely.
And on the Vial of Life stickers, talk to the fire chief. You're out of stickers? Let's get this settled.
Wait, hold on.
'Cause I have
Hold on.
those.
Hold on, Chief. Let me have you sit down. Go ahead.
No, I was just saying also that we don't call it the Vial of Life. File. Yes, and the fire department has always had those. I know we give them out. I have a stash of them for different service organizations. I think PD gives them out as well, but I don't know that I've seen the stickers on a window. I think so too.
Councilmember Brown.
She said what I was gonna say, because I know that we've had them and they've been available at community events. So
We go through
But-
shortages here and there, so that's why.
so
Can I have Dave Prieto?
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the council and members of the community, Fire Chief Eddie Sell. So in fact, we do have those. We have a significant amount of them. And in fact, when we go out to community events, we make sure that we drop those off. So we'll make sure that that our speaker does have them. And we certainly make sure that the members of the community have them available. And our fire admin office, which is right down the street on the corner of Buena Vista and Florida, we have plenty. So just come by. We're open Monday through Friday, and we love seeing you guys. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Anyone on Zoom for items not listed on the agenda?
If there's anyone on the Zoom call, now's the time to raise your hand and I will unmute you for public comment. I'll give you just a few seconds. Seeing none, Mayor, there's no public comment.
And then can you ask for people or items on the agenda?
If there's anyone on the Zoom call that would like to speak on items on the agenda, now is the time to raise your hand and I will unmute you and we'll give you just a few moments. Seeing none, Mayor, there's no public comment.
Okay, now we're going to move to presentations. First, we have Joe and Elvia Sawasita with Early Bird Cafe. I don't see, do I see them?
Mayor, I have one late bloomer that just raised their hand. Would you like to give them a few moments to speak? Thank you, Mayor. Michelle Harris, you're live with the city council meeting.
Hello, thank you so much. I apologize for being late. My name is Michelle Harris, and I am the owner of Hand in Hand Step by Step for Autism. It is a local organization that I started just a few weeks ago to help families and residents navigate the journey to diagnosis and the journey after. And I wanted to introduce myself to the mayor and the council members and see if there's any way that we could work together on a relationship to serve the community of Hemet.
If you could email the city clerk for us, we'll get back to you. We'll set up a meeting.
Sounds great. I will do that. Thank you very much.
Is anyone else?
That's the end of public comment. Thank you, Mayor.
All right, now presentations. We have Small Business Saturday Proclamation. And because we will be dark in the second meeting in this month, this is why we're saying it right now, because it's for November 26th, I believe. I have it. Well, I don't see my couple here, but who's eating at Early Bird Cafe? I asked the Joe and Elvia to come tonight. So whereas the government of the city of Hemet celebrates our local small businesses and the contributions they make to our local economy and community, and whereas according to the United States Small Business Administration, there are 32.5 million small businesses in the US. Small businesses represent 99.7 with employees. Small businesses, 62% of and small businesses employ 46.8% of employees. in the private sector in the United States. Whereas 79% of consumers understand the importance of supporting the small businesses in their community on Small Business Saturday, 70% report the day makes them want to encourage others to shop small, independently owned retailers, and 66% report that the day makes them want to shop small all year long. 58% of shoppers reported they shopped online with a small business, and 54% reported they dined or ordered takeout from a small restaurant, bar, or cafe on Small Business Saturday in 2021. Whereas the city of Hemet supports our local businesses that create jobs, boost local economy, and preserve our communities, and whereas advocacy groups, as well as public and private organizations across the country have endorsed the Saturday after Thanksgiving as Small Business Saturday. Now therefore be it resolved that myself, along with the Hemet City Council, do hereby proclaim November 26th as Small Business Saturday. And then can I have Jim and Coca come up for the Legacy Bank? This is the grand opening. Whereas the Saboba Band of Luiseño Indians is a federally recognized tribal government that exercises their right to self-governance and self-determination. And the results of exercising these rights can be seen in both your tribal government and your business enterprises. The Saboba Indian Reservation, home of both Luiseño, is nested in the foothills of the San Jacinto Mountains near the city of Hemet. The Saboba Band of Luiseño Indians, rich and a heritage that was handed down from one generation to the next, and have maintained their sense of community by continuing to generously participate through community to local charities. The Saboba tribe successfully navigated early into Indian gaming beginning in the early 80s, which has led to the valley's largest resort and casino. The Saboba Band of Luiseño Indians and their tribal government have generated hundreds of jobs, of which they currently employ 735 residents of the city of Hemet, and even more, including the entire San Jacinto Valley, and millions of dollars of economy stimulus for the local communities, leaving a legacy for generations to come. Whereas Legacy Bank is a state chartered commercial bank, and its commitment to diversity and continuation of both the city of Hemet and Inland Empire's flourishment and prosperity sets a foundation for the community's overall economic success. Now, therefore, be it resolved that myself, along with the Hemet City Council, do hereby recognize November 2nd as the grand opening of Legacy Bank by the Saboba Band of Luiseño Indians, and commend you guys on many valuable contributions to the San Jacinto and Hemet Valley. Let it be that a copy of this resolution for the tribe as an expression of the highest esteem from the city of Hemet, California.
Thank you all. Thank you all for your support and your acknowledgement. We're very excited about the Legacy Bank and what we bring to the Riverside County, to San Jacinto and Hemet communities, and to the other areas in the valley. It is an exciting time to start a bank. Yes, we have a lot of economic challenges, but having been through this once before, you really can't find a better time to do it because the other banks are retreating, and we're out there being assertive, aggressive, trying to help the small businesses in the valley. So thank you, Mayor and City Council folks, for the acknowledgement. We really appreciate it.
Good evening, Mayor, council members, city staff, and the beautiful residents of our valley. We're very pleased that the city of Hemet is recognizing the Saboba Legacy Bank. And thank you, Carly and Linda, for actually coming there that evening. I know the Mayor Malcolm and the rest of you had the event right here in Howard Street. So we really appreciate it. And some good news.
we will be opening another branch right here in this valley as board members of the bank. That's on our charter. And the Jim and his team are looking at the locations. So we have one location already we looked at, and we're looking at a couple other locations, and we should have that branch hopefully in about 6 to 9 months. That's our game plan. So thank you again. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, Doctor.
Well, it's my honor to present the next proclamation. Could I ask all the military veterans that are in the room right now to please stand? So this proclamation is for you and all the other military veterans, of which I am proud to claim status. And this is for Veterans Day. Whereas on October 8th, 1954, President Eisenhower called on all citizens of the United States of America to observe Thursday, November 11th, as Veterans Day. And whereas on Veterans Day, we honor all Americans who have served in the Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, and Coast Guard, both in times of war and peace. And whereas through the course of American history, courageous men, women have taken up arms to secure, defend, and maintain the core principles upon which our nation's freedoms depend. And whereas throughout the nation's darkest times, the men and women of our armed forces acted as guardians of freedom and beacons of peace, withstanding any and all tribulations. Whereas both men and women of our armed forces continue to be an inspiration to all Americans through their demonstration of courage, leadership, and commitment, service to our community and country. And whereas the city of Hemet, along with all Americans, attest to the importance of their sacrifices and contributions for our nation's freedom and security. And therefore, Malcolm Lilienthal, Mayor of Hemet, along with the Hemet City Council, do hereby proclaim November 11th, 2022 as Veterans Day and urge all citizens to recognize, celebrate, and honor the courageous men and women who have served the United States of America and protected their rights and principles upon which this nation was founded. So, gentlemen, could I have you come on up here? So, and this is just a small sampling of the many veterans that we have here in the city of Hemet and in our valley. And many of these folks were out helping with the installation of the Field of Flags on Saturday morning. We have 1,776. That's kind of a unique number. I'm not sure where they came up with that. 1,776 flags that are proudly flying at Gibble Park. And I urge everybody to come out Friday for our celebration of our veterans and the program. We have some activities planned there. So thank you all for your service. I'm proud to be standing among you. And if anybody wants to make a comment, now's the time. Okay. Thank you. You guys can draw straws for who gets this.
Next, we will have the 247th USMC birthday proclamation.
And I have Joe Cosma and Mike Booth, just Mike, up here, please. Before I read this, I also want to give some love to my son, Nicholas Males, who was also a Marine. City of Hemet, California, proclamation, 247th birthday of the United States Marine Corps. Whereas on November 10th, 1775, the United States Continental Marines were founded by our nation's leaders to conduct ship-to-ship fighting, provide shipboard security and discipline enforcement, and assist in landing forces. And whereas for 247 years, members of our United States Marine Corps have served with the utmost courage in almost every conflict that our country has faced. And whereas the Marines have valiantly served our nation through some of the hardest and darkest times faced, earning a reputation as a formidable fighting force. And whereas Marines exhibit honor, integrity, and personal courage while maintaining an unyielding dedication to service and duty. And whereas whether active duty or retired, we look upon our members of the United States Marine Corps with the highest respects. And whereas the men and women serving in the United States Marine Corps and the families who support them make a great sacrifice for the defense and protection of the freedoms and liberties of the American people. Therefore, Malcolm Lilienthal, Mayor of Hemet, along with the Hemet City Council, do hereby recognize November 10, 2022 as the 247th birthday of the United States Marine Corps, and urge all citizens to recognize, celebrate, and honor the courageous men and women of the United States Marine Corps for their service. Thank you. Semper Fi, say something, gentlemen. You deserve it.
Kind of interesting because most Marines that I know are very humble. They don't want to talk about what they've done. Joe is one of them. We all come back from a background of individualism and lack of family. When we joined the Corps, we joined a family. And no matter where I go, if I run into another Marine, there's that brotherhood. And that'll always be with me with the rest of my life.
That pretty much sums it up. I mean, after 2 tours in Vietnam and seeing the fighting that I did and coming back home and basically trying to get a life back together again was one of those situations that when you're down and out, you just turn to your brothers and they'll pick you back up. And that's one thing that I'm so proud of. The Corps is the best in the world.
Definitely. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you. Thank you. Huh?
Next, we have our Military Appreciation Month.
Family appreciation. Oh, that's it. May I have Cynthia Males come up? And I want my daughter up here too. Jessica Males, can you come up here too? You had to deal with a battered father.
You should come too, son-in-law.
Come on, Kyle. I thought he was going to take pictures. City of Hemet, California proclamation, Military Family Appreciation Month. One thing about my family, they're always there for me. I almost died. I got hepatitis when I was in the military, and they said it would come back with a vengeance. And it came back and almost killed me. My family stuck with me. They didn't leave me. They were there. My wife quit her job. That's very successful marketing person with Verizon, and she left that to stay home and make sure that I was good, okay, because toxins build up in your brain. You don't know who you are, and it was difficult. So I thank you for that. Thank you both. Military Family Appreciation Month. Whereas National Military Family Appreciation Month was established in 1993 by the Armed Services YMCA, and whereas National Military Family Appreciation Month was created to honor the commitment and sacrifices made by the families of the nation's service members, And whereas November traditionally being a time for family celebration, it is important to put aside time to recognize and show appreciation for the military families that help support our heroes. And whereas all Americans share the responsibility of caring for our military families and veterans, recognizing their sacrifices and celebrating their successes. And whereas the city of Hemet is home to many active military members, veterans, reservists, and their families. Therefore, Malcolm Lilienthal, Mayor of Hemet, along with the Hemet City Council, do hereby proclaim November 2022 as Military Family Appreciation Month, and encourage all citizens to recognize, respect, support, and honor the military families in our community across the nation. Presented November 8th, 2022.
So much. What an honor. Thank you.
That's it.
Next up in the proclamation is Lung Cancer Awareness Month. And understand we were going to have a doctor here to receive this, but he's not in the audience tonight. Show of hands, anybody know anyone who ever experienced lung cancer? No. Well, Doctor, yeah, come on up here, Dr. Coca. Come on up here. Come on down. Yes, thank you. So, this is Lung Cancer Awareness Month, whereas lung cancer is by far the leading cause of cancer death, making up 25% of all cancer deaths. And each year, lung cancer accounts for more deaths per year than any other cancer in both men and women. Whereas cigarette smoking causes 80% to 90% of lung cancer deaths in the United States. Regular exposure to secondhand smoke from other people's cigarettes, pipes, or cigars increase an individual's chance of getting lung cancer by 20% to 30%. And whereas individuals ages 50 to 80 who currently smoke or who have quit smoking within the last 15 years have a history of smoking 1 pack a day or for 20 years, or 2 packs a day for 10 years, are recommended to be screened annually for lung cancer. And whereas the only recommended screening test for lung cancer is low-dose computed tomography. Okay, CT scan. Yeah, boy, these are fancy words here. And it has been proven to significantly reduce lung cancer mortality in those at risk by at least 20%. And whereas by recognizing Lung Cancer Awareness Month, the city of Hemet demonstrates its dedication to patient support and advocacy for people living with lung cancer and those at risk for the disease. Whereas Hemet residents and healthcare providers are encouraged to learn more about prevention, lung cancer screening, and testing of homes for radiation to reduce the risk of lung cancer for all Hemet residents. Now, therefore, Malcolm Lilienthal, Mayor of Hemet, along with Hemet City Council, do hereby proclaim the month of November 2022 as Lung Cancer Awareness Month. So, Dr. Coca.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, council members. For us, I think the biggest area that we as a community need to touch are the school children. It starts there. Vaping has now become a fad and they think it's not smoking. So education plays a big role. Both parents, family members, physicians, providers, all of you guys all have to play a role in educating the younger generation so we can prevent the huge loss. Because as a physician, I have to give the news to patients that are 35, 45 years old, and they may have quit for 10, 15 years. but they don't understand why they are now all of a sudden coughing or coughing up blood. And they come in going, but I quit. I quit a long time ago. I don't understand. But they've had a 40-year pack history. So they definitely have changes that have happened. And now we have to recognize it. And like he said, if you have that history but forgot about it, please remind your physicians that you were a smoker or you lived in a household that had smokers, so you can be screened using a CT scan. Chest x-ray is okay, but is not the best. So definitely a CT scan would be a good idea. So thank you. Thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you. And I think that goes all of us that are baby boomers, and we pretty much grew up in households with one or both parents who smoked, and nobody knew what they didn't know. And so there's a lot of enlightenment available now, and we just need to all be advocates for that.
Thank you, Councilmember Brown. All right. Diabetes Awareness Month. Whereas the 2021 National Diabetes Statistic reports that 37.3 million people have diabetes. And of the 37.3 million adults with diabetes, 28.7 million were diagnosed. 8.5 million were undiagnosed. And 96 million people aged 18 or older have pre-diabetes. The percentage of Americans age 65 and older with diabetes remains high at 29.2% or 15.9 million seniors, and 1.4 million Americans are diagnosed with diabetes every year. And diabetes is the 7th leading cause of death in America. And an increase in community awareness of risk factors and symptoms related to diabetes can improve the likelihood that people with or at risk for diabetes will get the medical attention they need to improve their quality of life. Therefore, myself, along with the Hemet City Council, do hereby proclaim November 2022 as Diabetes Awareness Month.
Thank you once again. So kids come home at 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the afternoon from school. What ads do you see on TV? Food, 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 fast food. Late night, you're not sleeping, you're scrolling through TV channels. What do you see? Once again, food, food, food. That is not healthy food. So it's just fast food. So I think education and awareness is very, very important. It's a disease that is, it's not a curable disease, but preventable disease. And if you do end up having it, you can prevent the complications from it. Diabetes is the 7th common, but the complications that come from it is a lot more monetary expenditure for all of us as a community, taxpayers, hospitals, everything else. Because we see patients losing their feet, losing their fingers, losing their eyesight, having issues, having cardiac and strokes. All of these are complications from diabetes. And I think simple teaching starting from school to community events, as all of us can put together, I think is very, very important. So thank you.
Right. Can I have the interfaith team come up? I get criticized a lot in the city of Hemet for this type of certificate because it has to do with trash. Someone said to me, "Stop giving out awards for people picking up trash." And I thought, how mad do you have to be or angry at the world to tell someone to stop encouraging people to pick up, to clean, keep the neighborhood clean, right? So on behalf of myself and the city council, we would like to express our gratitude to the Hemet San Jacinto Valley Interfaith Council for its cleanup efforts and selfless contributions to the city of Hemet. I'll share with you guys that this guy drove me all over the town. John drove me all over the town, and even into the county. But it was really beautiful to see volunteers from Hemet High, and a lot of students were volunteering. People who had those people who collect a lot of things in their homes, the hoarders. We went to one house. It was like, how do you live like this, you know? And so they helped, and she had to move like in the next day or something like that. So they helped get her straightened out. They were putting out these barriers for mudslides out in the county for the people that were affected by the Fairview fire. I mean, this group went all out. They met out, and in the Exchange Club, it just all came together because the Exchange Club fed all the volunteers, and there's another group, the Kiwanis. They just came together. This is like the stuff that I like to see in the community, because if you guys already know me, I'm on this community person, everybody unity, all love and peace, right? But when you see it out like happening in front of you, it's amazing, because we can all work together and we can all make this place a better place, but we got to do it together. And so this is an example of people working together and getting volunteers and people coming out on a day that they didn't have to. They just gave up their time, and that's important. I think that's a really good thing and a show example of leadership here in the community.
Thank you, Mayor. We appreciate you being there, and also Councilmember Meyer. Thank you so much. We represent the Hemet San Jacinto Interfaith Council, which is about a dozen or so churches that come together, all different denominations, different beliefs, but with a common purpose to promote faith and promote unity within our community. So this is one of the annual events that we hold. We had over 350 volunteers that provided labor, and then we had about another 30 volunteers or so that provided support with food and all that sort of thing. So it was about 1,500 hours of service performed just in that one day of people coming together. We removed almost 9 tons of trash from the city that day. We overfilled a 40-yard dumpster and took 6 additional dump truck loads to the dump that day. So it was a tremendous outpouring of effort. And our goal is just simply to make Hemet heaven again. If you want to get involved, if you want to be part of that effort, you can always go to our website, or you can just look up the Just Serve website, is where we host all of these opportunities to serve within our valley.
Thank you guys so much. All right, next we're going to move to receive and file. Do I have everybody's permission to file? All right, then we're going to move to the city's public hearing. So this is one of those all in favor or all in opposition. I'm going to open up a public hearing. The public hearing will be open for comments for those in favor or in opposition, followed by rebuttal to any of the comments made. Then the public hearing will be closed, and the city manager may respond to any questions raised by the public. The public will not at that time have an opportunity to respond. Then the discussion will be brought back to council for direction. I will also note that for the record that this agenda for 12A was removed, as the item was already introduced at the previous city council meeting. So we're going to move to 12B, which is the second reading and adoption of ordinance 2003.
All right. Good evening, Honorable Mayor and members of the City Council. My name is Carlos Yatto. I'm the acting building official for the City of Hemet, as contracted by HR Green. And this evening, we're bringing before you a public hearing of an ordinance amending sections of Chapter 14 of the Hemet Municipal Code. Next slide. The strategic integration plan. So the code adoption integrates into the city's organizational effectiveness. This is the 2022 code update will ensure that the city of Hemet is complying with the latest regulations to ensure health and safety of all construction that occurs within the city boundary. This is accomplished by how we evaluate existing practices to ensure continuity with industry best practices and just helping us keep consistent with our neighboring cities as well. Next slide. A little bit of background. The California Building Standards Codes, also known as Title 24, establishes the minimum regulations for the design and construction of building and structures in California. These codes include building, fire, electrical, mechanical, plumbing, energy, green building, and the residential code. The state of California Health and Safety Code mandates that the California Building Standards Commission adopt and publish the California Building Standards Codes every 3 years. So in the current 2019 code was brought before and adopted in November of 2019. The 2022 California Building Standards Code will go into effect January 1, 2023. So all applications submitted prior to the January 1 date will fall under review of the 2019 California Building Codes. The City Council introduced and discussed the 2022 Building and Fire Code update at the September 27th, 2022 meeting, and that is when the public hearing date was set. All appropriate notifications were sent out pursuant to government code section requirements. There are some noteworthy amendments that we reviewed and made a couple of changes. One of them was the permit requirements specific to retaining and CMU walls to be more in line with the state code, meaning that any retaining wall or freestanding CMU wall that is 48 inches in height measured to the bottom of the footing is exempt from a permit. The current code is 24 inches from the top of the footing. The other change that was made was a certificate of occupancy requirement change to reflect a more streamlined and business-friendly process. The city will only require a certificate of occupancy for new non-residential and change of occupancies. The current code requires a certificate of occupancy for a change of ownership. So if I am Sally's Beauty Salon and I go to Sarah's Beauty Salon, under the current code, it would require an applicant to go through and through our certificate of occupancy process. Now with this current proposed adoption, it was streamlined where it wouldn't trigger a full gamut of paperwork and red tape to get a business opening their doors. We also clarified the permit expiration across all codes to be consistent with AB 2913, which allows a building permit to be valid for 1 year. This also allows the building official to grant an extension for 180 days. There were some inconsistencies in our current municipal code, so we wanted to make sure we did some housekeeping to reflect the AB 2913 requirements. And then we adopted the current version of the International Property Maintenance Code. This is the 2021 version in lieu of the dated 1997 Uniform Housing Code. So this allowed more current codes that our code officers can utilize when they're doing their jobs and enforcing not only the municipal code, but now the current version of the International Property Maintenance Code. There were fire code changes as it specifically relates to fire sprinkler requirements. The previous code was dependent upon various factors such as occupancy, occupant load, the square footage of a building. And so the new proposed code amendment would require for new buildings, regardless of occupancy, to require fire sprinklers where the total building area exceeds 3,599 square feet or is more than 2 stories in height. And then for existing buildings, fire sprinklers are required to be installed in all occupancies when an addition occurs and one of the following conditions exist. And that's either one, when the addition is 33% or more of existing building area and the resulting building area exceeds 3,599 square feet. Second one is when an addition exceeds 2,000 square feet and the resulting building area exceeds 3,599 square feet. And lastly, an additional story is added above the second floor, regardless of fire areas or allowable areas. Some of the noteworthy code changes that we experienced, typically going from the 2016 code to the 2019 code, we saw a lot of changes relative to energy, construction, building. Not so much going from 2019 to the proposed 2022 code effective January 1. The first one would be the 2022 California Energy Code has new requirements for new single-family homes to be electric ready. This includes circuits, more electrical circuits for space heating. This is supposed to be water heating, cooking ovens, and clothes dryers. So in 2019, the code required for new residential structures to have solar. Now it's requiring that these appliances be electric. That way our solar can match the output of these electric appliances as we gear towards a zero net energy for our homes. The 2022 California Energy Code has new requirements for photovoltaic, solar, and battery storage for new commercial buildings. So that means new hotels, retail, office, restaurants, and similar will have properly designed solar system with battery storage. The current code does have requirements for solar access areas on the roof designated so it can accommodate panels. Now this is saying we want battery storage for non-residential buildings that apply here. And then lastly, another noteworthy code change was in the 2022 California Green Building Code. They repealed the mandatory requirement for designated parking for clean air vehicles for non-residential. So you might drive around and see some empty spots that are reserved as clean air vehicles as they're identified. The California Green Building Code actually did away with that and required an increase in the percentage of EV capable spaces and added a requirement to install level 2 charging stations. Our staff recommendation is to open a public hearing and take testimony if and the second reading and adoption of ordinance 2003, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Hemet, amending specific sections of Chapter 14 of the City of Hemet Municipal Code. And that concludes my presentation.
Thank you, sir. Any comments from or questions from council?
Yes, thank you for that presentation. Just one question on clarification on the CMU walls. If they're 49 inches, they need the permit. If they're 48 inches, they don't?
That is correct.
Okay, just clarification. And now is when I wish Mike Percival was here, because he would ask the question.
What was the question? I'm sorry, I didn't hear.
Mike Percival is the real estate person and he was on council. He always had some real issues with these types of building code changes that came down. Just with your crystal ball, what type of an effect do you see these changes having on the building industry, if any?
I think what I anticipate is, again, the whole idea of the Green Building Energy Code is to drive us to more sustainable development. So that way we can have an infrastructure that supports solar and other renewable energy type sources that we can utilize. And then also when we look at the fire sprinkler requirements, it allows us an opportunity to create safer buildings for not only the public, our community, but also our first responders who are having to go into these buildings and structures and make sure that they're safe.
Do you, the term that the single family homes have to be electric ready, does that preclude developers from putting in gas?
It I'd have to get clarification on that, but I believe the intent of the code is to have it electric only and start to do away with natural gas appliances.
Even though we have brownouts and blackouts and all of that other good stuff.
That is correct, because technically a new single family structure is required under the current code to have solar installed. So when the solar is installed under the new code, the output of your house is supposed to match the size of the solar system. So if I increase the electric usage by having more appliances that require more electrical output, then that just means that I have to design my solar to match that output as well. So that way there's not really a tie on the grid. It's more of a larger solar system that you would be required to install on your house and we're talking new single family dwellings. So that can include either new homes, or that could also include new detached ADUs that are brand new. This wouldn't be a requirement if I did a new ADU that was a garage conversion. That we don't consider that as new. So this is just completely brand new single family and new structures.
Thank you very much. Appreciate the presentation and
Thank you.
questions.
Councilmember Brown.
Yeah, thank you again for the presentation. That kind of a follow-up question to Linda's last one about the electrical appliance. It's my understanding that in the past, if you wanted to have solar panels installed on your home, that, and I don't know if it was a CPUC requirement, that essentially what the vendor would do is look at your past 1 year history of electric usage, and then they would design an array of panels that would deliver like 90% of your average usage. Is that a fair assessment?
That's how they do it for existing structures. When they're designing these new homes, there's a pretty in-depth calculation for your energy output, and then the solar is designed to match that. So you have in-depth load calculations, for all the outlets, all your lighting, everything like that is going to produce a certain number based in the energy code. There's a formula and a calculation that'll say that this house, based on that calculation, putting the numbers in, could be 11 kilowatts. And then we expect through the plan review process and inspection process that we're going to look for the I guess you could say how we reconcile that the solar that's sized to match whatever that calculated output is in design.
I guess, and it's just my presumption that the electrical industries, SCE and other names for other providers elsewhere in the state had a lot of leverage over the CPUC, or a lot of influence. Why you couldn't on an existing structure put an array of panels that would cover 100%, so that they could, because all of the solar panels obviously are eating into their profit margin. And so with this new code, do you anticipate any further pushback from the industry?
I think just in the fact that we have solar required right now for new single family homes, and we have a lot of developers, Lennar, big home builders, Richmond, Pulte, a vast assortment. They already have it into their standard plans for solar. So they've been working with that for the last 3 years since the last code. And then, again, I think it's just kind of a push as we look to produce a more sustainable product for future years.
Yeah, I guess I would share the same concern that Linda has, is that our current grid system can't always meet the demand that we have now, and the state mandate is going to impose an even greater demand. and some of these projects like, electrical vehicle charging stations. And I don't see the same interest from the state. It's out of our control here at the municipal level, but it's just a commentary, I guess, that our system can barely support what we have now in the way of demand, and this is going to increase the demand substantially. And I don't see a whole lot of effort being put into enhancing the grid. So it's kind of a catch-22 situation where the building industry is going to have to comply with this. We've got to mirror that with our own local codes, but it sure seems like a recipe for
backwards.
failure.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm going to try not to shoot the messenger, but I absolutely disagree. If I want gas in my house, then I will build a house with gas in it. I'm just making sure that that's very clear. It is not appropriate for the state to decide how I spend my resources unless they want to start giving out money for that, which they give it out for everything else. So maybe they will. But do you understand my point?
I completely understand.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? I'm going to open up this public hearing.
Thank you, Mayor. If there's anyone on the Zoom call, now is the time to raise your hand and I will unmute you and we'll give you just a few moments. Seeing none, Mayor, there is no public comment.
Close public hearing. Unless you guys have anything else, do I have a motion? I just need 3 of you.
Understood. In disagreement with this, I will make a motion to put forth staff recommendation.
And I think I've already made my objections noted, but I will second the motion because we don't have a choice.
Oh, we have to vote.
I have a motion by Councilmember Krupa, second by Councilmember Brown. Council, please cast your vote. That motion passes 4-1 with Mayor Pro Tem Meyer voting no. And I have to read the adoption of the ordinance title. So this is to approve second reading and adoption of ordinance 2003, an ordinance an ordinance entitled an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Hemet, California, amending specific section of Chapter 14 of the Hemet Municipal Code by adopting by reference the 2022 edition of the California Building Standards Code, including the 2022 California Building Code, the 2022 California Fire Code, the 2022 California Electrical Code, the 2022 California Mechanical Code, the 2022 California Plumbing Code, the 2022 Energy Code, and the 2022 California Green Building Standards Code, the 2022 California Residential Code, including Appendix 5 Swimming Pool Safety Act, together with certain additions, insertions, deletions, and changes thereto, and adopting by reference the 2021 International Property Maintenance Code, the 1997 Uniform Code for the abatement of dangerous buildings, and the Mobile Home Parks Code and installation regulations, together with certain additions, insertions, deletions, and changes thereto. That motion passes 5-0. 4-1, excuse me. 4-1.
All right. Consent calendar. All consent calendar items will be acted upon simultaneously unless requested by an individual council member for separate consideration. Are there any council members that would like to pull an item?
13E.
And 13F, please.
I was going to pull 13F, so also. Yeah.
Do I have a motion to approve the rest?
I just have a question on 13C, but I don't really need to pull it for that. And my question on 13C is just for clarification on who is eligible to receive this additional funding. You're not on.
It is now. That's better. Good evening, Noah Rao, Public Works Director, City Engineer. The question there is, who is eligible to receive the funding?
The additional funding, is it for?
This particular agreement is for the city water customers. Currently EMWD already offers the additional dollar to MWD's program. So this will allow what we budgeted for in our water conservation this year to give our city customers that dollar for the conversion program.
Okay, so
Make it
it's
consistent
trying to
with-
make it a parity for the city water
Customers.
customers, a parity with EMWD customers.
Correct.
Okay, thanks.
Mhm.
I will move approval of the remaining consent calendar items.
I'll second that.
Motion by Councilmember Brown, second by Mayor Pro Tem Meyer. That motion passes 5-0 to approve the consent calendar with the removals of items 13E and 13F for separate consideration.
All right, 13E.
13E, and I'll ask legal on this, but we have not approved the council protocols that call out political contributions of $250 or more in a campaign, or the state law has not taken effect on campaign contributions. However, I will recuse myself from 13E because I did receive a political campaign donation from the developer in question. Okay, and I have a question on this also. Okay, so we took these people's land because we needed the easement, and then we realized that we don't need it. So now we are giving it back to them, right? And so we have a fee in here of over $3,000. So is that something that we're refunding, or we are going to charge them again because we can't? I don't know. I just need
No,
some
so the
clarification.
circumstances when the development was put in was
Can
different.
I
and there
interrupt
was-
for just a second? Legal question. Do I need to leave the room for this discussion since I'm recusing myself?
Yeah, you need to leave the room.
Thank you.
So the circumstances changed from when the development was installed. There was only one access, and so the code required two. And so the easement was provided at that time because there were not two accesses. And so now there is a second access on Esplanade to the development. And so that requirement is no longer needed. And that's kind of the reason that they've asked for us to give that back to them, essentially.
So my question is, are we going to charge them?
We would charge them because when it was put in, it was needed, and now it's not needed. So yes, they would.
So
still
who
have-
can't make up their mind, us or them? I'm just saying, are we charging them because of our mistakes or because of theirs?
I don't think there were any mistakes. It was just a change of circumstance from when the development was initially installed to the current status.
And is that right?
Yes.
All right, that's the question that I have on that. And I don't know that I agree with it, but I won't ask anymore.
Councilmember Brown.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I did have a question for our fire department. Just assurance that, because of the changes in the development, we want to make sure that we still are satisfied that we have sufficient ingress for public safety responders and egress for the residents if we vacate this.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, members of the council and members of the community, Eddie Self, Fire Chief. So to your question, so this was one of those circumstances where city partners work together, Public Works and Public Safety, in making sure that we're doing the right thing for our customers and our residents, and looking at something that had been maybe looked at years ago and with some differences in where we're at now. We were able to look at that. And so in fact, I do have Battalion Chief Greg Lloyd with me, and he actually put eyes on that. So I want you to hear directly from him, since we went out and physically drove the area to answer that direct question.
Thank you, Chief.
Honorable Mayor, City Council, Greg Lloyd, Battalion Chief, Fire Prevention and All Hazard Services. When we originally received the request to vacate, we looked at that and immediately had these exact same concerns about access to the development and all of that. When we went through and did some further research into this, the whole purpose for that easement was the proposed Highway 79 coming along Warren Road, which would have created an elevated roadbed and would have eliminated ingress to the parcel adjacent to the Stony Mountain Peak development. It would have eliminated an ingress. So they needed to have an easement to provide access to that piece of property for emergency. Once the 79 was moved west, that no longer became an issue. Warren Road would still become an access point for them. And so because of that, we saw that as not being an issue. Additionally, that easement was never designed to be an emergency vehicle access into the Stony Mountain area once it got through its development. Once, as Mr. Rao said, once they had the second entrance in off of Esplanade, that easement was really more intended to access that single piece of property west of the development. I went out, I looked at it. It is a 20-foot wide, at best I could describe it to you, a driveway. It's not developed. There is nothing beyond that. If anything was to happen, then we would have to either develop it or move it forward. The street wouldn't be wide enough to meet city engineering standards. It literally is an easement between two pieces of property. And so based on our discussions with Public Works, as well as our own visualization of that, we felt that it really didn't meet the needs of that intended egress for vehicles or for emergency vehicles, and that it was best to just have it to go back to the developer because we do have access to that western piece of property.
So the magic question is, sorry, Russ,
What?
did we charge them when we took it the first time?
That I couldn't answer for you.
I think it was just an easement dedication. I don't think there was a charge. It was just part of that development.
Because I would hope that we would make sure that we are not double crossing the developer.
Yeah, this was quite a few years ago that
I know, it was way
development was
before you.
installed, so I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know
maybe
if there
we
was
can
a
double
charge for
check on
that
that,
or.
because if it needs to come back, then it needs to come back, but we need to take care of our developers. So, all right.
Councilmember, the best that I can describe from our observation of it is it was a just in case type of thing. So if this was going to get developed, if this was going to happen, we're dedicating a piece of property or a piece of, 20-foot wide access easement, kind of just in case. Nothing has been developed on that west side. And so I think that's what's happened is we've gotten to that point where the developer said, okay, nothing's been done and now there's no longer a need.
I would definitely appreciate an answer on if we charge them or not. Thank you.
And thank you for your very detailed explanation. It assures my concern.
What would happen if, to Carly's comment, that the city didn't charge them? What does the 3,000 cover?
So the 3,000 that's covering for this the summary vacation of the easement is for this process for staff to take it to council, develop a staff report, go through the whole process of the legal description, removing it, setting it back to the adjacent properties.
Okay.
That's just in the fee schedule for the city for doing a vacation of an easement.
What do you guys want to do? Table this one? Because I need a motion.
I'll move approval of 13E with a request that staff look into Councilmember Meyer's question, Mayor Pro Tem's question, just to ensure that there were no fees charged related to that initially.
Okay. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Excuse me, motion by Councilmember Brown, second by Councilmember Mills. That motion passes 4-0 with Councilmember Krupa, excuse me, not abstaining, recusing.
All right, 13F.
Hold on a second. I don't necessarily need you to give the whole staff report, but I do have some things to point out on this. And I'm going to go through this like in a nutshell since people want to get out of here. But let me get back to this page. What I love is we're getting this grant from the state of California, right? With the non-discriminatory clause. So if we go to page 755 of 845, and we see in here that the state of California, right, is telling us we cannot discriminate based on people's residence on and who plays pickleball at these pickleball courts. But yet I'm going to go over to the letter from the state auditor, who is not elected and appointed by the governor of the state of California, who is telling us to discriminate against people using the library. And so I don't know if this is something that the council needs to address with the state, but I could go 100 directions with this. All of a sudden, the state auditor is a public safety professional telling us about our fire department, and they're telling us to discriminate when I had to sit through non-discriminatory classes, thanks to the state of California, and they're telling us to discriminate. So I don't know, like legally what we can do with this, but it is very confusing.
You could always just request staff as a legislative or legislative advocacy matter, bring an item back to discuss what possibly could be done at like a legislative advocacy level. But in terms of this item, and
I don't mind approving this item, but I find it highly ironic when they tell us that you shall not discriminate against any person on the basis of residence except for your library. I mean, it just blows my mind. This is a public document and we are having to approve it tonight. So maybe the state auditor needs to stay in their lane. So I think maybe that somehow the city council needs to come up with some sort of a letter to address this with the state or with the governor's office, because throwing in public safety and fire services and then the library and telling us not to discriminate and then telling us to discriminate is just, they're overreaching. That's all I have.
Is that a motion? Because I'll second it.
Yes.
Now, I wanted to add on that also, because they're telling us not to discriminate. So if we have homeless that go there and they want to just sleep on the pickleball courts, do we have to allow that? I mean, can, since we can't discriminate against them?
I think the operative word is playing, the operative word is playing, not sleeping.
So, I mean, Gibble Park's a home for the homeless, so I mean, we're going to have trouble with, since it's a grant, you have to open the doors for everyone.
They were talking about us charging people. So we're going to charge the homeless.
Well,
Can't do that.
they make more than I do.
Do I have a motion? I do.
Yes.
Y'all just waiting on me.
Motion by Mayor Pro Tem, second by Councilmember Krupa. That motion passes 5-0.
We are now going to move on to city council and staff reports. Councilmember Brown.
Thank you, Mayor. Let's see. The Leave California City's Riverside Division meeting is scheduled for next Monday. And so there's nothing to report immediately on that. And as for Ramona Bowl, I'd like to make a plug for a fundraiser that is being planned for this coming Saturday, November 12th. It's a murder menu Mia, which is a murder mystery dinner theater that is going to take place at DeTillo's restaurant. It's a fundraiser for the 100-year anniversary of the Ramona pageant. And so tickets are available if you call 658-3111 or you visit www.ramonabowl.com. The tickets are $125 with the proceeds going to support the Ramona pageant, specifically for the 100-year anniversary. And let's see, nothing to report on Watermaster. WCE meeting for tomorrow is canceled. And the Western Riverside Council of Governments, WRCOG, met yesterday. And it was fairly routine items on the agenda, but we did have a very detailed explanation by the executive director, Kurt Wilson, who kind of gave us a walkthrough of the past year, accomplishments and the changes that were brought about, all of which brought a lot more transparency and a lot more organizational control, things that are taking place under his watch. And he gave us a little bit of a highlight for the coming year. And since I've been had the pleasure of being our council's representative to WRCOG on the executive committee, I wanted to share one of the highlights of what's going to be different next year is they're actually going to have a whole orientation session for whoever becomes the next representative for, if there's a change, obviously there'll be a change here on our council, but any other municipalities that have a new representative, they're going to have a whole orientation so that the person doesn't just parachute in there with no real understanding of what WRCOG does and the roles and benefits of participation in that. So I think that's a really good positive change that's been implemented by Dr. Wilson. And with that, that's all that I have.
Councilmember Krupa.
Okay, on the library, unfortunately, we have received and accepted resignation of another one of the trustees. So we now we'll have two positions open, but I believe we have an application for at least one of them. Okay, if that could be brought to council as soon as possible, that would be great. And then we'll start looking for another replacement. They did have voting at the library today, and I will say, in spite of the rain, it was packed. There were people voting in person and dropping off ballots, and it was really it was a good thing to see. Although people in Southern California, you really need to buy umbrellas because it does rain out here. I think I was the only one with an umbrella, but it was a good turnout. So let's see, League of California Cities, we do have a meeting next Monday in Riverside, and it will be at the Cheech Museum, which is going to be good. We have a tour available to us prior to the meeting. And I think we can bring up to Aaron Sassy, who is our person with the league, about this legislative letter that we will write about conflicting discriminatory statements made by the state. Riverside County Transportation Commission is tomorrow. RCT or RTA, they are getting new fare boxes in their buses and a new micro transit system route will be, I think it's January 1 that it is coming to the San Jacinto Valley. And it's almost like Dial a Ride, only it's better. So we'll have a report on that later. And these others, that's all I have to report.
Councilmember Nails.
Okay, nothing on the skate park. We're still in limbo on that, I believe. The League of California Cities, I will not be making it next week. I have a business meeting here in Hemet. And I attended my second RCA meeting on Monday and was kind of in awe. They had a presentation there. The Western Riverside County Regional Conservation Authority, RCA, manages one of the largest habitat conservation plans in the nation. In 2021, the RCA's acquisitions totaled 1,321 acres purchased, bought. 64,123 acres have been acquired between inception of the multiple species habitat conservation plan through 2021 from its inception. That's 64,123 acres they have purchased, protecting 146 native animals and plants, and protecting 33 endangered or threatened species. I'm at a loss. We can spend millions of dollars buying land from people who couldn't pay their taxes or lost their land due to sickness to make sure the burrowing owl or the pond turtle are protected. But we have human beings defecating on our streets with no food in their stomachs, and we can't even protect or help them. But we can protect a kangaroo rat that if anyone came across it, would try to stomp on it. I ask you, what has our society come to where we can't even protect our own species, but yet protect species that are animals and plants and so on? And that's all I have.
Mayor Pro Tem.
I have no reports. Please.
Does anybody have any ad hocs to report on? City Manager.
Just a reminder of the Veterans Day ceremony on Friday, November 11th at 10 a.m. at Gibble Park. We'll have activities afterwards till about 1 o'clock. So hope to see everyone there.
And also the business meeting next Monday, is that at 3:30 or 4? 4. Because I know Coca had another event coming up at 4 or 5 o'clock and was hoping to get it at start this meeting at 3:30.
Okay, I'll see what I could do.
Okay, thank you.
Any future agenda items? All right, let's get out of here. There being no further business, this meeting is adjourned to the next city council meeting, December 13th. Thank you for joining us tonight.